maybe make the first introduction here. My name's Colm Hayden. I'm a CEO at Anaeko. I've formerly been the Chief Technology Officer, and I'm joined here by Adam Close, a Senior Solutions Engineer with Octopus, who works very closely with Anaeko on our team, and Andrew Boyd, our DevOps engineer with Anaeko. And really what we're hoping today is to use, through example, show you the value of Octopus in automating deployments and take it from a perspective of where it has helped Anaeko. And we have the great pleasure of having Adam, a real expert practitioner here, who can talk and relay with Andrew about the problems and solutions, the challenges they face, and where Octopus fits. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. Adam, I'll let you maybe drive the slides there if you want to move on.
Yeah, so I'll kick off with I think you mentioned a quick agenda, but yeah, we've done introductions. Thanks, Colm. Colm's going to talk about the Octopus Deploy and Anaeko partnership in a little bit more detail. I'm going to give a Octopus Deploy introduction and kind of where we fit in the DevOps tool chain, and then a demo of Octopus Deploy and GitHub Actions, making modern deployments simple. And yeah, like Colm said, any questions from me throughout the presentation, shout out. Happy to do it during the presentation. Also, there'll be plenty of time at the end to cover those off. So yeah, I'll hand back over to. Actually, Colm, what I'll do, I'll just cover Octopus as an intro, just for people who don't know who Octopus Deploy are. We were founded in 2012. We are a deployment tool that makes complex deployments simple. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in the next few slides. So I'll not go through every single stat on this page, but yeah, you can see from a couple of stats we are used globally. We are used heavily. We aim to be the best deployment tool on the market. Where we kind of fit in terms of the market itself, we are continuous deployment. So we pick up where the build server finishes, whether your build server is GitHub Actions, Jenkins, Azure DevOps. Octopus picks up packages built or containers built by your CI server, and we push that out to whatever your infrastructure is, whether that's virtual machines, platform as a service, or containerized type architecture. So I'll move on for you, Colm.
Yeah, so if you kind of click through, Anaeko is a data engineering company. We offer consulting solutions and teams. And what we do is we help our customers and partners build and operate cloud and data platforms. And some of the areas we work in are shown on this slide. So we have come from a history of working with communication service providers, so the underlying infrastructure. We work heavily in system integration, gluing things together. We build on and around and in cloud platforms in AWS, Azure, Red Hat, IBM Cloud, Kubernetes, and of course, Octopus sits at the heart of all of these. We've worked with product vendors in helping them build and scale their products. And at the top, you see the end society and user-facing market and health, in government, in sustainability, and in both transport and utilities, and with technology innovators. And these customer and partners mean that we have delivered over 500 projects over 19 years in a whole range of technologies and evolving. And we need tools and automation to help us deliver our services. So it's within this context that we became an Octopus Deploy partner, because it can help us and it can help our customers. If you move on, Adam. And from that slide, we exist with 3 core practices. We have a Microsoft hybrid cloud practice. So these are customers who have traditionally had on-premise Microsoft technologies, maybe lots of points of presence, lots of on-premise databases, and they're in a move to Azure, but they're still operating in that hybrid cloud model. And we help in the migrations and platforms, and a specialization of ours is in the reporting and analytics. On the AWS side, there's a similar set of services. It's just a whole range of technologies and all the programming languages that sit on top of AWS, like Python, Go, Java, Angular. And so we have all kinds of DevOps and for our data platforms, DataOps. And then multi-cloud, where we're building very often in Kubernetes, complex CI/CD environments, and every kind of CI/CD tool is in that mix. It's a very sophisticated environment. And we have to, in those cases, have an overarching governance and security, because that's the most critical driver for most of our customers in ensuring they're managing their data and their applications securely and safely. And Octopus Deploy sits perfectly in the middle of this, because it has specific target support for those environments, and it integrates directly into that tool chain while enforcing that overarching governance and security. And really, I just to pass on here, it was because of that very reason we both help our customers manage their environments, and we move Anaeko into a managed service environment. So Andrew is part of our DevOps team, and it's great for our clients that they're able to have this choice, because that's the world we live in. But it's a problem for Andrew, because he has to manage this. And it's great when it's in a project and we're delivering and it's fresh. But we don't want Andrew to be operating these systems forever. We want to simplify, templatize, low code this, and Octopus sits in the heart of that. And if you move on, Adam. So we use it for ourselves, but just to say, we've become an Octopus delivery partner. And that means we have experts that work hand in glove, Adam and Andrew and others. We do joint events, we cooperate around accounts. And what we want to do is take the knowledge and experience and make it simple to consume. So we've worked with Octopus around the packaged services. So if you're interested in following up after this, you can visit, we'll share a link, and you can come to our website where these various services are available. And ultimately, you're speaking to the experts in here. So I will now hand it over to Adam and Andrew, and they can share the challenges using not even a sample project, a real project we're working on at the moment, where automation and of deployment has its own challenges, and Andrew and Adam can explain what they are and where Octopus solves them. Over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Colin. And yeah, the next few slides I'm going to touch on where I think Andrew's going to have challenges, because Andrew's, Andrew and the team, you're working across multiple different projects. Each project might have different technologies and infrastructure, different build servers, and that thing about standardizing, not just deployment, but deployment steps and things like that are really going to help Andrew. And how this kind of presentation came about is I was in Belfast last week, and we looked at an internal project that needed deploying. And we kind of uncovered some of the challenges with a particular project where Octopus can help. We've adapted that to kind of fit the modern deployment world. So, as Octopus supports all infrastructure, whether you're deploying Windows or Linux up to Kubernetes, we'll be jumping on into some Kubernetes type deployments today. But what I just thought first, what I'd start with before we discuss Andrew's challenges with this specific project we were working on is kind of where Octopus kind of fits in the market and why a tool like Octopus is needed in organizations. Now, this basic deployments are easy. You've got a single application. You've got Andrew here, who's quite happy and smiling. He's got a single deployment script that deploys to one service in one cloud, and he's got one customer to deal with. That's what we call the happy path of deployments. And for anybody who's kind of lived in the DevOps world or has done any kind of deployments, it doesn't last that long in terms of that happy path, because Colin then has another project for Andrew, and when things start to get complex, things get harder. So you take the application, not only has to be hosted in a virtual machine, then you've got something that needs to be running in Kubernetes. You've got something that not only runs in Azure, but also runs in AWS. You've then got multiple customers. You go from that single script that you've got deploying your single application to multiple scripts, and this is where Andrew starts to look a little worried. And as things grow and scale, as Colin adds more and more projects onto Andrew's workload, this is still a single application, but there's more and more custom scripts for different customers, different cloud providers, just to host a single application. Now, when we start adding in more applications for different projects, this thing just gets harder and harder as you try and scale. I'm sure, Andrew, you can see this exploding DevOps engineer here is you and the team sometimes.
Yeah.
And I keep double clicking, and this is where we come into to resolve this problem. So Octopus Deploy makes complex deployments easy by standardizing on the deployment tool, which means using out-of-the-box steps that Octopus provides, and lots of other features that we're going to jump into today. Octopus Deploy is there to centralize the deployments and make those complex deployment challenges easy. So hopefully that gives you kind of an understanding of where Octopus fits in the DevOps landscape. Now, we've got a single slide here that talks about some of the challenges that me and Andrew did uncovered last week with an internal project. Andrew, do you want to talk to some of these?
Yeah, sure, Adam. Yeah, I suppose one of the first things we found whenever we chatted last week, one of the main challenges we had was the project that we're working on at the minute has multiple environments set up. So we had a development environment, we had a pre-production or a staging environment. We were going to have then a production environment, and those environments were going to be very different from each other. So the internal dev environment, it was going to be picking up the latest release of the software, but maybe it was only running a single instance database, maybe a shared file system. So all the services were being run on a single instance. Whereas when we moved into the pre-production environment, that the scale changed. We were dealing with multiple instances, each running a service per instance. We maybe had multiple instances running the same service. So we were then into looking at load balancers and auto scaling groups. We were still dealing with the database, but the database was being replicated across maybe multiple regions, and there was RAID replicas and backups in place. And we then had shared file systems. The shared file systems were being used not only by our services, by some end user compute services, so they had to be available. The third environment, the production environment, was going to look very similar to the pre-production environment, but there was going to be different requirements as far as SLAs and stuff on the amount of downtime we could have. So we couldn't necessarily take the entire environment out of use for the period of time to upgrade. So the infrastructure in each environment was going to be separate. We were going to have to try and develop a separate process for each environment. And every time we create a new process, that process is going to require maintenance. It's going to require training. It's going to require upgrade and upkeep. So that was one of the challenges we uncovered. The other part of that was there was times whenever we were only maybe making a very small change, and there we were going to have to figure out how we were going to deploy. Did we have to redeploy the entire environment, or across multiple boxes just for one small change? There was no way to just change only the element that we had made the change on. So that was the first sort of challenge that we uncovered last week, Adam, really.
And sorry, can I just add one point into this? So we're in the middle of implementation, and these challenges are already presenting, managing multiple environments. But this project is going to operate critical infrastructure for 5 to 8 years. So hopefully, Andrew can be sunning himself in a nice relaxed mode, looking at the great work that's templarized here. But all of those challenges will continue. And that is one of the real values for, from my perspective, is I can have the confidence coming out of this, that those challenges are understood, managed, controlled in the long term.
Yeah, and the kind of demo I've got lined up is it's probably not okay. Day one, this is how we're going to set this up. This is 12 months from now. When we get to a point where some of the things that Andrew talked about, where I've got there on the slide, increased deployment frequency, deploying on what's changed. We want to get to that point. If we've got an application that has 10 services, we don't want to deploy all 10 services. When we've got a new release, we want to deploy one, because if you look at this middle part of this slide here is where we're measuring deployment metrics, which are the DORA metrics. We want to make sure that we can get software out really quickly. If you're deploying all services at the same time, it's going to slow that down. So yeah, kind of TLDR of that is we're going to have a day one solution, and then the presentation I'm going to show you is 12 months from now on how Andrew can just kind of take a step back and sit and just kind of let Octopus handle that. But yeah, Andrew.
Yeah. So that was really the first challenge that we uncovered last week. The second one was really more around after we have some of our instances and bits and pieces in place, we then had to take steps to configure those instances, and we were using scripts and some user data scripts on whenever the instances were being spun up to take actions and to do some of the configuration. But what we were finding really was there wasn't a lot of visibility on that. So the user data script ran, and the only way that you really knew that it ran was whenever you opened up the box and double checked that whatever you were hoping had been installed or configured was installed and configured. And there was times whenever we were starting to see that you maybe only found out later on that one of those steps didn't take properly. So that led to a couple of slightly different things. There was no real visibility on that, so we had no assurance that those scripts had been run or not. And if there was issues, we then had to jump onto the box. You could find the logs, but if you were deploying to 4, 5, 6 servers and you were running the same script and it was failing in 4 or 5 of those, you were having to jump onto multiple boxes. So there wasn't much visibility was an issue there. And the second piece, I suppose, along the similar line was you still needed those configuration steps to be taken. So if they didn't execute for whatever reason, you then had to go into a manual process where the engineer would jump onto the box, bring the script across to the box, execute the script. You maybe didn't need the entire script executed. So it was just a very manual process that we were finding there.
Yeah, definitely. And I chuckled when you were telling me about the story. I think it was Dara who was telling me a story about the user data. So if anyone's ever bootstrapped kind of a script with a startup machine in cloud, the pain of that sometimes is it's unbearable, because you have this script inside this user data file that runs on startup, and doesn't really know what happens when that script runs. It's always hard to tell, trying to delve through log files and things like that. And I have got some things to show kind of after the main portion of the demo on how we can resolve that in Octopus. And I suppose that kind of covers. We'll jump into demo in a second, but it kind of covers off kind of the last big point I've got on this slide is increased developer productivity. One of the big reasons why Octopus exists is we want to reduce the burden from developers. So if we are speaking as platform engineers or DevOps engineers, we want to take the pain away from developers. One, having to maintain, whether that be build pipeline, deployment pipeline, but also kind of infrastructure build as well. A developer has a lot to think about on a daily basis. And if we can take the pain away of having them to think about, do I need to worry about Kubernetes when I'm deploying this service? We want to take that pain away. And first thing we'll show in the demo is kind of the seamless developer integration we've got with the CI service. So a developer doesn't really have to leave their CI of choice or their code editor, really. And then talk about some of the reusable deployment steps and scripts that we did talk about, didn't we, Andrew? One of the big issues with rolling your own custom deployment scripts and the challenges behind that. I'm not sure if you want to pick up on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I suppose what came out of that was really that, and it came across from a number of different projects whenever we were discussing this last week, was that you, as much as you like to share the knowledge around amongst the team, somebody will create something, and they will, by just the very fact of that, become much more knowledgeable in how to do that. And then it's that person nearly becomes your default go-to person for certainly pushes and runs to production. And so if that person's not available, then the process doesn't always necessarily fall over, but there's a reluctance maybe to push to production as frequently. You don't have quite the same confidence to go to production. If you are going to production, if you're having to follow the instructions and bits and pieces, and things can be as well documented as we like, but if you're having to follow the instructions, you're not quite as smooth as if you do it regularly. So there's that the process can take longer, you know what I mean? And if you're in a critical environment where you have SLAs and bits and pieces to be met, if you're only allowed an hour's downtime, that hour can be eaten up very quickly. So we could see that certainly becoming a challenge. And then for business really as well, if you have to have a developer with a particular skill set because you have particular types of scripts running, then as a business you're going to have to, if that developer leaves, you're going to have to try and replace that developer with somebody like for like, and that's not necessarily as straightforward as it might be.
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize a point there. So, Anaeko's operated for 19 years and we have a good staff retention. People stay with us, and the reason they stay with us is because they aren't always doing the same thing all the time. So while Andrew described the unplanned, undesirable case of somebody leaving or being unexpectedly sick or unavailable or on holidays, we have a proactive view where we want to give people the opportunity to change into new roles and not have, prior to automation of scripts and runbooks, is the case where it's the touch to last syndrome. Who last edited that script? You're the default go-to person forever. Whereas now we can allow a much freer movement, greater confidence, and it has a great boost for morale as well as the effectiveness of what we deliver.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Colin. Okay, let's get at the time. I'm gonna jump in and come out with some slides And well, I've got a couple more slides, but set myself up to do some technical stuff and show you a demo of Octopus in action. So let's set the scene. It's Monday morning, and you're a developer here. It's Monday morning, and your boss sends you a text message. Morning. As you probably heard, we're expanding our services to auto body management. We need to update our homepage ASAP. And right now, I work for an auto body organization, and you'll see that in the application in a second. So it's going to be garage, auto body management. Now, yes, this time, can you make the change without affecting the entire application? So we're going to go ahead and we're gonna kind of show how I'll do this in Octopus. So hopefully I've switched to GitHub. Can everyone see that? Is that good? Cool. I'm making sure my team sharing was on point there. I didn't switch onto the wrong screen. But yeah, so I have an application here, Pit Stop Garage Management System. If I just check out the source, I've got lots of different services in here. And all these services are deployable, and it's a microservice type architecture. And going back to the points we were talking about, when we make a change to one of these services, we don't want to deploy everything. We want to deploy the thing that's changed. However, from a developer standpoint, they may want to test in isolation. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to make a change. So I'm going to change the web app. I'm going to go use home index. Now you're going to see some real great code in here, everyone. I'm going to go back to my slide, pit stop, garage, and auto body. I'm just going to
So Adam, you're obviously making the change, through your code editor on Git. And from that, I'm assuming there's integration back into Octopus Deploy from GitHub.
Yeah.
And
no, that's perfect. So this is what you're going to see now. So that kind of sets me up there now. So what I'll do, I'll commit this fantastic change. It's going to be game changing to the Pit Stop application. But I'm going to say, let's call it AC change homepage, and that's normally better than my normal commit messages. So I'm happy with this. Normally it's just a blank space and a dash. I'll do. So we just change that. So I'm going to pause that change. What's going to happen? I'm creating a new branch now, and what's going to kick off is I've got a pipeline that's running. It's already kicked off, and essentially it's monitoring for anything that's changed, any feature branch that's created. So anything that's not main, it's going to trigger this workflow. Now, as a developer, I want to test this in isolation. What's going to happen? It's going to rebuild all my services. And I'm showing this just for the flexibility of it. And when we come to deploy to production, you'll see kind of where I'm talking about only deploy what's changed. But one thing I want to bring up about this screen is I'm the developer here. I'm not having to leave my code editor. I'm not having to leave. If I use GitHub, if I use Jenkins, if I use TeamCity, I don't have to leave this code editor. I can jump into here. If I just jump in and show you one of the builds, what's actually happening is building the Docker image. And what it's going to do once it's built the Docker image, it pushes that up to Docker Hub. And then from there, Octopus Deploy integrates with Docker Hub. But we're creating the release. We're sending build information from GitHub into Octopus. And then we're deploying that release out via Octopus. So again,
so obviously, Adam, you're using GitHub Actions here. I take it you mentioned it does integrate across with other build servers and across, you mentioned Jenkins, TeamCity, other bits and pieces like that. That's
right. Yeah, that's right. We've got integration with all build servers, and we've also the actual CLI that he uses is .NET Core. It can run essentially the CLI commands can run anywhere. If we head over to Octopus now and jump into the dashboard, So this kind of the first look at you'll get of Octopus, where you're going to see all the projects that you're deploying. You see all the projects down the left-hand side and the environment life cycles that you've chosen for these particular projects and the current release that's deployed to them. But if we scroll down and we're looking at pit stop, I've got a group of applications, so we can see all these services that are currently getting deployed. The API one's taking a little while. Just to double check, make sure that's, yeah, we're still building. It's a live demo, of course. The service that should be the quickest takes the longest, but gives me a little chance to actually jump into one of the projects. So if I jump into here, and again, you can get all this information pulled back into GitHub as well. What we can see, it's run a very basic deployment process to deploy this container out. And you can see this from the task summary. Not only have you got a task summary of steps that have actually ran to deploy this container into Kubernetes, you've got all your task history down the right-hand side. So for a lot of organizations, being able to quickly identify when a service has changed and by who is really important. And we keep this information till the end of time. We can even jump into the task log, which gives us lots of more detailed information. But to be honest with you, I use this mainly for troubleshooting. So if you're running any kind of CLI commands, you're not supposed to deploy any sort of packages, any information that you need is going to be surfaced here. So, if you're running some scripts to bootstrap a virtual machine, you don't have to go diving through cloud logs. It's all been surfaced here through one portal. I go back to the task summary. If I just go back, that looks like it's finished now.
I think that came clear last week whenever we were looking through a release issue that we had and couldn't quite figure out what it was, that the logs and the visibility that we were able to get there really helped in directing us. Even whenever we were talking to you, you were able to see a lot more information. We were able to share that across with you, and that was really useful.
Yeah, I'd like to add a point here as well, which is, I'd set the scene of how Anaeko has many teams working in practices on many projects, but we're a collaborative company. So we're also working with third-party companies where their teams are working within the shared environments that we have a responsibility around. And this kind of visibility is ideal because it's not the case that there's a singular ops team, a singular dev team who we can go around, we can see at a glance and diagnose that, because not all actions are triggered by our internal team.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to point out here is the different spaces as well in Octopus. If there are teams working on different things where you need hard walls between the teams, you can create that quite easily in Octopus. But if I just come over to Azure now and go into my development cluster where I've just deployed this. So in terms of how Octopus connects that, there's a couple of ways Octopus can deploy containers into Octopus. You can use there's what's called the Kubernetes API. But we are currently in the process of releasing our Kubernetes agent as well. So the agent actually sits inside Kubernetes and connects outbound to the Octopus server that way. But we've not released the agent yet. I think it's in EAP. I'll have to check. But if I just go to the services that I've just deployed, if I just filter that down by this namespace and just open that up, we'll hopefully be able to see the change I've just made. And I say hopefully because it's a live demo and something, there we go. Great. So you can see I've made a change to go down to one repair. Now I'm not just showing this just to show you that Octopus, it does what you're saying it's going to do. But this is me as a developer now. I'm testing this. Okay, I'm happy. All the other services have been deployed as well. Now I'm happy with this. So I'm going to go back. And I'm going to go scroll to the top, and I want to merge this back into my main branch. So I've added a feature branch. I'm happy with it. I want to merge this back into main. I want to create a pull request. And merge that through, confirm the merge. So I've now merged that feature branch back into main. Now, what's going to happen now? A second action is going to kick off, and these are the two actions that you're only going to need for any amount of services that you're deploying per application. If I jump in, we're going to see the kind of same thing again, but rather than see all these things build, we actually want one to build, which is the web app. We can see there it skipped all the other services, and it's now just deploying the building the web app, and it'll only deploy that in Octopus. And we'll talk a bit more about the orchestration side for production in a second. But if I just jump into back into the release here. If we take a look at the pits.web and go to the process, so this is the process. It's a very simple one. I kept it simple just for this demo. This is the bit that deploys a container, but then we've also got another step here, which is manual intervention, which is testing sign off. When things have been deployed into a test environment, which is a shared environment, we like a tester to come approve that. Now we don't want that to run for every single step, every single environment that we're deploying to. This is just for the test environment. So Andrew, where you were talking about where, dev you deploy to a single box in dev, but then you deploy in production, you've got this HA cluster where it has to do other steps, where it might be take a machine out of a load balancer, deploy it, add it back to a load balancer. This is where in Octopus, you can still have one deployment process, but you can just filter steps to say only run this for this particular environment. And there are some other nuances to the one deployment process, things like configuration changes. So let's say your database connection string of one of your services changes as you deploy from dev. I'd hope it would change from dev test stage in production. Octopus has variable management and configuration management built in. So as you're deploying out to different environments, you can swap out that configuration. Now, if I just jump back to the dashboard, hopefully we'll see that in action. I did have a failure on the pit.time service. I'll check that afterwards. But if I open this up, we can see now the deployment's kind of halted because we're deploying to dev. It's hit the step manual intervention that only runs for test, and it's essentially asking me to test this. So I can come into the object status check. And one of the things we do at Octopus as well is just been muted there. Where was I? So we can get the load balancer IP address. So as Octopus is deploying into Kubernetes, it actually pulls back all the deployment information you need real time as well. So if I just open that up, and we can see there now as a tester, I've tested this. I'm happy with Adam's changing of titles and his great work. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the task summary, assign that to me. I'm the tester now.
So Adam, just on that, if, for instance, you're the junior DevOps engineer, you have a senior DevOps engineer or somebody more senior that you want to make the approval, that you don't want the same person who's made the change to make the approval, can that be set up and configured so that you can get a true approval process? Or if you need Column to approve all changes to production, can that be set up as well?
Yes, so that kind of stuff can be configured as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a vitally important point. I mean, we referenced in the slides there, CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. And what we want to do is have our developers deploy as quickly and frequently in that development environment. But our customers are gated approvals, user acceptance, signed off releases. So there's even bigger levels of approval, the more significant and critical the application. So the levels of control you can configure in here across those different environments are are critical.
Yeah.
Adam, there was a question raised in the chat by Porrick, just if you can get to it at a point, which is he was asking, you were showing the spaces, you know, and how things are broke down and structured. This question was, does each microservice have to sit in its own Octopus project? And of course, Anaeko's, we operate as a managed service provider as well as helping others. So we have all of these permutations. Maybe you can touch on that to address that question.
Yeah, no, it's timed very nicely, because this is where we talk about the orchestration of this. This is where we make, I think this is where we make the production deployment really simple for a release manager outside of the developer or DevOps engineer. But to answer your question right now, each microservice has its own project in Octopus. But what I've also built is what's called this orchestration project. So if I take a look at the orchestration project and go to the process, this actually deploys out all my services as part of one project. So it's basically a parent and child project. Now, what Octopus is going to do is going to calculate the things that have changed in test compared to what's actually and approved in test, by the way, I should mention, approved in test that can be deployed out into production. And we'll see that in action now. So to answer your question simply, yes, each microservice is part of its own project. What that enables, it enables speed. You know, I've made a change to web app. I've just deployed the web app to test. And the same thing is going to happen for production. Now, if I go back, actually, I need to be in the orchestration project at this point. So if I filter by the release, so this is a release that was created. It was 9.2. That's the latest version that has kind of encapsulated all the changes in test. Now I can deploy this to a number of different places. Now, it's still production, so we deploy it to production. But let's say, for example, you have many productions for one application. So let's say Pitstop is deployed to different clients, and they've all got the kind of own infrastructure to host Pitstop. Or another example might be it's a retail store or a hospital where you don't just deploy the code once to one place, you deploy it to many different places. And this is why I'm seeing tenants. So again, I can have one deployment process and deploy it to many different people. This could be go back one. Let me just click that. This can be a tester. So if a tester has their own environment and they want their own copy, we can utilize tenants. This is again, tenants is a big feature, and I'll not drive too much into that. But I just want to deploy this to internal right now. I'll go ahead and hit deploy. I can choose to do this now or later. One thing I'm not going to do, I'm not even going to choose later, because the amount of times I've done a demo of this and I've hit later and I forgot to untick it, and we've all been sat here waiting 10 minutes. So I'll leave that as now. I'm going to go ahead and hit deploy. Now, we're going to get something a little bit different that I haven't talked about yet. So, you know, one of the biggest reasons why deployment frequency is low in organizations and deployment speed is low is approvals. You know, people approving deployments via cabs. Some of that reason is because they don't have trust in the deployment process. What's been deployed in dev and test is that's going to happen in production. But we at Octopus, you can automate your approvals with either the built-in approval in Octopus or our integrations into ServiceNow or Jira Service Management. So we can see here, I've got this change request that's waiting approval. I've actually got it here as well, so I'm not going. I just refresh that. So Octopus is going to wait now until this is approved. We can see it here. We've got orchestration version 2192 ready to go to production. It's currently in review. I'm going to mark that as emergency override. Once I mark that to emergency override in Jira Service Management, I'll come back to release in a second. Octopus is going to come back. Here we go, and proceed to say this is now authorized. And once this kicks off a deployment, we can see here it's now going to deploy all the services to production, but it's not. It's going to work out, okay, in this deployment, what's changed? Okay, I'm only going to deploy what's changed. So what we want to see here is just a pit stop web application that's going to get deployed. So
Adam, while we're waiting for that to flow down through, there was a question from Paul Ward in the chat. You know, and you're describing the conditional deployment of what has changed. Paul's question relates to rollback if something fails. Maybe you can touch on that shortly.
Great question. And Paul, there's lots of ways to go about doing it. You know, especially when you start thinking about, I think I've seen there, you talk about not just the application, the data as well. When you've got data in databases, it's always challenging to roll back. However, we do offer rollbacks out of the box Octopus. And while this is running, let's say, okay, I've deployed this to 9.2. You could have some steps that run and do some testing. And if the tests come back as failure, you can have automatic triggers to then go and redeploy the old version. Now, if we look at the deployments, let's say I want to filter by, okay, I want to restore back to 9.1. I can go into here, I can see 9.1. I click into that task. And give it a second. Essentially, I've got the redeploy. So I can redeploy that version. Now, there is nuances to that, and you know, like I say, you've got to think about, okay, well, is that deployment process going to restore things like data and all those kind of things? We're happy to discuss that with you, the best way to do it for your use case, and we've actually published lots of blogs and webinars on the best way to handle a rollback. Lots of organizations will just say, yeah, we do rollbacks out of the box. But actually, there's lots of thought that needs to go in it. If you ran database changes against your database, you know, unpicking that is difficult. But to answer your question, we offer rollbacks out of the box, and we've also got lots of advice on the best way to implement rollbacks for your particular use case. That's another point as well. You know, at Octopus and Anaeko, lots of DevOps engineers. I was a developer years and years ago who turned DevOps engineer. You don't just kind of get the Octopus products, you also get the wealth of experience that we all bring to the table. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Paul. And you know, you can see there with the redeploy button, just some configuration that needs to be done for each use case. But if I go back into the dashboard now, we can see it's already done. So it's deployed 9.2 into my Kubernetes cluster. I'm going to open it up, go to the object status check again. I can see my external IP address of the load balancer, and hopefully finish off with a demo with the working production instance. There we go. So that kind of wraps up my short intro into Octopus and some of the capabilities, and really kind of how we are making modern deployment simple. A modern deployment, you know, deploying small chunks of your application and how to do that fast. So yeah.
Adam, just on that, do you have any visibility there just on, you know, if you're making small deployments fast for business, there's obviously other metrics, higher business level metrics there. Do you have any information available within Octopus that are going to show how long on average each deployment took, you know, over the course of a period? How many failed? How much, you know, is there anything of that nature available in the product?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's something I missed off. I know I had that on my slide deck, but we actually measure if anyone didn't know DOR metrics, after this call, go check out DOR metrics, which is a lot of research done on how to measure an effective DevOps team or projects. But I've got a report here that basically I can compare all the the top four, or not say top four, all the DORA metrics, whether that be deployment frequency, lead time, failure rate, mean time to recovery, and I can compare them against each project. This is obviously comparing the microservices one for this standard report. But what it's useful for, if you can compare teams against each other, I always feel bad saying this, but if you can pick out the teams that are performing badly, this is not to kind of give that team a kind of slap on the wrist. It's to go, okay, hey, why don't you look at the team that's doing well, take the stuff of the team that's doing well and implement it into your projects, and the DORA metrics and the insights from Octopus kind of give you that visibility. It helps you bring the rest of the teams up to speed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to add in there at the start, Andrew had mentioned service level agreements. So if we're operating a managed service on behalf of a client, there will be customer facing, user facing service level agreements. Internally, we might have operational level agreements what we're upholding ourselves to and how we collaborate with partners. But otherwise, also there's what Adam is describing, is that we can encourage and continually improve our internal team by observing where we can do better and learning from those who are excelling. So the ability to see and track and trace those metrics is valuable from both the customer perspective, the operational, and the internal continuous improvement.
There's one of them part can a new tenant be slotted in service without rewiring? So can a new tenant be slotted in without rewiring the whole deployment? Yes, that's a great question. So let's say set an example. I'll set the scene that Pitstop is an application that's kind of white labeled in terms of people buy it and it can be deployed into their own data centers, their own cloud subscriptions. Let's say you get a new customer that wants Pitstop and they've got their own architecture, their own infrastructure. Simple case of coming to tenants, and we can clone an existing tenant, say internal. I don't know. Let's say Anaeko has bought Pitstop. We can say Anaeko. And we'll go back to the dashboard. If I go into orchestration, don't have to change the deployment process, don't have to change configuration. I can just go and then deploy that to Anaeko. So yes, you can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, to relate that to projects Anaeko delivers, there is the highly customized services like the project Andrew was describing, but we also offer repeatable services, and in some cases there might have been a case those applications are multi-tenanted, but increasingly it's multi-instance. They're deployed into their own AWS VPC or environment, and so this drive towards standardization is a great enabler from Octopus, because you're encouraging conventions, patterns, increasing visibility, and you don't have to be the expert in each of these environments to be able to see what's happening from this graphical user interface. It's the common denominator across our technical teams.
Yeah.
So we're coming close to the end of the hour. If anyone has any final questions, please feel free to ask. If anyone wants to delve any deeper, just get in touch with us. We'll share details of both this recording and all our presenters here and the team are very happy to be contacted. And just as a reminder, in the chat there's a link to the services, how you can get in touch with Anaeko. Oh, we have one last question coming in. If you have hundreds of deployment targets, what's the most efficient way to configure these in Octopus?
So depending on what the deployment target is. Now, if it's if you've got things like platform as a service or Kubernetes, if you tag that infrastructure in those services in your infrastructure with, I think it's like Octopus environment, Octopus role, Octopus automatically adds those into Octopus. If you're talking virtual machines, you need an agent. You install an agent on the virtual machines, and you can automate that via scripts. But if we're talking things like cloud services, it's really easy to have hundreds or thousands. As long as your infrastructure is tagged, Octopus will automatically pick those up. Octopus stores cloud credentials inside Octopus, which can be scoped to different environments. So let's say you have your Azure service principal, one for dev, one for test, one for stage, and one for production. You can scope those as you're deploying, and because we have those credentials, Octopus can automatically register deployment targets in Octopus.
Yep, great question and great answer to finish us off. So thank you, everyone, and in particular, thanks to Andrew for sticking with Anaeko and being part of these complex deployments, and thanks to Adam and Octopus for making complex deployments simple. And thank you, everyone, for joining today. Hopefully, you got a lot out of it. We're here and available, and if you want to find out anything more, just get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.